Starting with the next topic of gastrointestinal system in pediatrics, reading from Ghai, 10th edition, page number 298. Dysphagia. Dysphagia refers to sensation of food being hindered in its passage from the mouth to stomach. That is difficulty in swallowing. Fine. So basically, dysphagia is difficulty in swallowing. There is another term called as the odynophagia, and odynophagia is painful swallowing. Okay, and there is another term called globus, and globus is the sensation of lump in the throat. Dysphagia can be divided into two distinct groups. First one is the oropharyngeal or the transfer dysphagia, and the other one is the esophageal dysphagia. Starting with the oropharyngeal or the transfer dysphagia, presence of drooling, choking, coughing, and nasal regurgitation. These are all how will we say that it's a oropharyngeal dysphagia, right? When there is drooling, there is choking, there is coughing and nasal regurgitation. These all suggest oropharyngeal dysphagia. The main causes are the cerebral. What are the main causes of this oropharyngeal dysphagia? That is cerebral palsy, bulbar poliomyelitis, muscular dystrophy, brain stem tumors, and neuropathy. Esophageal dysphagia. Etiology of the esophageal dysphagia can be broadly divided into two groups: motor causes and the structural causes. In the motor causes, it is achalasia cardia and diffuse esophageal spasm. These are the two motor causes of esophageal dysphagia. And in the structural causes, there can be strictures, there can be foreign body, or there can be Sadsky's ring, an esophageal web, eosinophilic esophagitis, and extrinsic compression by the aberrant vessel, or any mediastinal mass. So these are all the structural causes which can cause esophageal dysphagia. These structural causes are basically preventing the entry into the esophagus or compressing the esophagus some or the other way, causing difficulty in swallowing. So what can cause difficulty in swallowing? The structural reasons for esophageal dysphagia include strictures, foreign body, Schatzki's ring, esophageal web, eosinophilic esophagitis, extrinsic compression by any aberrant vessel, or mediastinal mass. Now coming to the differential diagnosis and evaluation. The important causes of the esophageal dysphagia and their evaluation are shown in the table that we will read. So the differential diagnosis for this esophageal dysphagia are congenital esophageal stenosis. This is the first differential diagnosis, that there is congenitally stenosis present in the esophagus. This may be of three types: web or diaphragm, fibromuscular stenosis, and stenosis due to cartilaginous tracheobronchial remnants. These are the three types. What? Let's read them again: web or the diaphragm, fibromuscular stenosis, and stenosis due to the cartilaginous tracheobronchial remnants. Symptoms of the vomiting or chest infection due to the aspiration typically develop around 6 months of the age when the weaning is started. So in this case, the symptoms will commonly develop around 6 years of age in congenital esophageal stenosis. The other cause is foreign body and esophagus. Button batteries and the magnet ingestion may have increased in the last couple of years. So any foreign body can also cause dysphagia, right? Esophageal dysphagia. What can be the foreign bodies? Mostly button batteries or any magnet. And sharp foreign bodies and batteries can cause damage by the perforation secondary to pressure on the or the chemical necrosis, and can present with the dysphagia, mediastinitis, or upper gastrointestinal bleeding. This can also be present. Okay, what can be present? Dysphagia, mediastinitis, or upper GI bleeding. Multiple magnets, if ingested, attract each other across the bowel loops and can cause necrosis. If there are multiple history of multiple magnet ingestion, it can cause necrosis. This was the table that we were talking about. We will read about this. So it can multiple magnets can cause necrosis. It can cause any fistula formation and perforation. All the patients with the suspicion of a foreign body ingestion should have an X-ray, even if asymptomatic. Okay. So all the patients with any foreign body ingestion should have an X-ray. The vast majority of the foreign bodies passed unimpeded through the GI tract. The most frequent sites of the impaction are the cricopharynx, mid-esophagus, at the tracheal bifurcation, and just above the lower esophageal sphincter. Endoscopic removal by the experts in the standard is the standard of therapy. The urgency of removal depends on the nature of the foreign body. No foreign body should be left in esophagus for more than 24 hours. However, button batteries and the shafts should be removed at the earliest as possible. Okay. Now, um, the TDs that we read about were congenital esophageal stenosis, the foreign bodies in the esophagus, and now we are going to read about achalasia cardia. Okay, achalasia cardia present with dysphagia, vomiting, weight loss, respiratory symptoms, and slow eating, whereas toddlers present with the coughing and feeding aversion with failure to thrive. How will the toddlers with achalasia cardia present with? They will basically present with coughing and feeding aversion with the failure to thrive. Okay. The average age at the diagnosis is around 8 to 9 years of age. This is pretty high. Like, okay. Average age at the diagnosis is around 8 to 9. Barium swallow shows esophageal dilation with the beak like narrowing at the lower esophageal sphincter. Manometry is the most sensitive and specific. What is the most sensitive and specific is the manometry. Specific tool and shows absent peristalsis in the esophagus. So in manometry, what will be seen? There will be absent peristalsis in the esophagus, incomplete absent lower esophageal relaxation, and raised intraesophageal pressure. So these things will be seen in the manometry. There will be absent peristalsis in the esophagus. There will be incomplete or absent lower esophageal reflex uh, relaxation, and there will be raised intraesophageal pressure. Achalasia is classified as type 1, 2, and 3 based on the manometry. Endoscopy is useful to exclude the other etiologies of dysphagia. Endoscopic pneumatic balloon dilation, Heller's cardiomyotomy with fundoplication, and the POEM are the main therapies. So these things can be done for, I think, achalasia, that is endoscopic pneumatic balloon dilation, Heller's cardiomyotomy with the fundoplication, and the POEM, that is per oral endoscopic myotomy. Okay, fine. So this was all about this dysphagia. Now the table that we have to read: evaluation and management of esophageal lesions that cause dysphagia. Okay, so first is the etiology. Etiology, investigation, finding, and treatment. First, we are going to read about the corrosive. What will the corrosive, acid or alkali, will cause? Stricture, corrosive stricture. We will do it in investigation. We will do the barium swallow and meal and upper GI endoscopy. And the findings, we can see narrowing in one or multiple short or long segments of the esophagus, may show even contracted stomach, or pyloric stenosis can also be seen. The esophagus, we can also find findings in the stomach and the pyloric stenosis. In the treatment, we have to do the endoscopic dilation because there is narrowing, so we will do dilation by balloon or the Savy-Gillard dilators. Next one, stricture after repair of tracheoesophageal fissura. So even after the repair of tracheoesophageal fistula, if there is any stricture, no, then we will do the barium swallow, and again in the barium swallow we will see narrowing, and we will do the endoscopic dilation. Next we will in the congenital stricture, again barium swallow or the CT. Stricture in the middle or the lower esophagus, cartilaginous tissue in the stricture. Okay. So if there is any congenital stricture, no, so it will be present in the middle or the lower esophagus. And there is endoscopic dilation or surgery. Post sclerotherapy stricture. Again in barium swallow, there will be narrowing and treatment is endoscopic dilation. There can be any peptic stricture, there can be foreign body, and achalasia cardia. So in peptic stricture, barium swallow, there is again narrowing, endoscopic dilation can be done, and the proton pump inhibitors after dilation. In case of any foreign body, what can be done? Plain X-ray and the upper GI endoscopy. Types of the foreign body and the site of impaction can be seen we have on the finding, and we can do the endoscopic retrieval also. In achalasia cardia, again barium swallow and endoscopy esophageal manometry. There is beak-like narrowing in the lower esophagus. There can be pneumatic dilation can be done, and Heller's cardiomyotomy and the POEM, that is per oral endoscopic myotomy. These are the treatment options for achalasia cardia that we should know, we should remember. pneumatic dilation, Heller's cardiomyotomy, and the poem. Then the infectious esophagitis in the immunocompromised children, upper GI endoscopy can be done and then endoscopic biopsy. In the finding, we will see white curd-like deposits, candida, and ulcers. So there is any infectious etiology, right? So an infection can be a candida also and the cytomegalovirus herpes also. If it is candida, then we will see white curd-like deposits, and if there is cytomegalovirus herpes, then we will see the ulcers. And on treatment, if candida was present, fluconazole can be used, and if cytomegalovirus, ganciclovir or acyclovir can be used. In this picture, first one, we will see a post-tracheoesophageal stricture. Black arrow shows the short stricture. There is a short stricture here, and the white arrow shows the dilated proximal esophagus. Before the stricture, there is dilated esophagus. This in the upper GI, in the next picture, upper GI endoscopy showing foreign body in the esophagus. There is a coin in the esophagus. Okay, so this was all about dysphagia. Thank you.